Hello there. I am Anthony, and I'm just fixing a problem that's happening with Twitch right now. Although it's showing up okay, not actually working. Okay, that's interesting. All right, so sorry, hold on one second. Well, more than a second. Let me just check what's going on because there seems to be a problem here. So, okay, that's interesting. Okay, everything looks okay on Kick, so I don't know what the problem is over on Twitch. But anyway, it's gonna be really fun to just have to sit through and wait until I fix this. Sorry, hold on a second. Might be a good time for a bathroom break. Let's start at the beginning of the show. Okay, hold on 1 second. I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. So it looks like everything's okay on Twitch. I think everything is okay everywhere else. So, hi there. I'm Anthony. I've got camera in my face right now. So, today I'm going to be working on a painting I've been doing for a while now of a glacier with a couple on it. And this is a little bit of a different setup than what I usually have, but I've got things all over the place just to get the right angle of what I need here. So I'm going to be working on the hair today. This is the bride's hair, and she's gonna have a lot of wind blowing through her hair because they were shooting this up in Alaska and there's a lot of wind blowing. So I'm gonna make it a little more tame than it is in the reference, but pretty much give it that kind of a look. So just do one more thing here. Okay. Swear, I think maybe one time actually went live and I didn't have some weird technical problem happen. Okay. So I'm gonna get some burnt umber, mix that up. I actually have some in my foil over here. I'm gonna just take a look and see if it's still good because I put that in there a while ago. So guessing it's still okay, but let me just check. Brian, I can't save your Thursday, whether I'm here or not. So here's my old burnt umber. It's okay. A little bit thick, maybe. I don't know. I guess, yeah, you know, I think I'm going to just say, nope. And just take, well, actually, oh, there's a bunch of it. Maybe, yeah. I'm going to just set it aside and say, nope, I don't think so. Unfortunately. Just get rid of this little spot of paint over here. And get some more umber out. One of the things about, you know, old paint, sometimes I'm not even sure really what I put in there. you know, what kind of medium. You know, some dry fast and some dry slow, and that's really what I want for what I'm doing right at the moment. So unless you use just one medium, you can kind of tell sometimes if you added one in there, but might not necessarily be what you want. And then regardless, if you add something and then it's out for a long time, it might get kind of thick, which will be a little bit harder to work with in some cases. So sorry to anyone who tuned in last week, but I completely forgot about it with Thanksgiving going on. Not that I did all that much, but planning to do it a different day, and I realized the next day, like, oh yeah, I didn't do that thing. So here today. Okay, so now I'm going to get some burnt umber, and this is a little bit, maybe a little bit tricky because I've got a lot of detail going on in the background right over here. And I've got to have her hair line up, and you know, I guess there's a couple different ways I could go about adding this in, but it'd be good if I could get the hair to look a little bit kind of blended in with the stuff around instead of being just like extremely defined in these little sort of strands. So she had some, you know, hair product in definitely in the shoot. So I'm not really going to paint it that way. It's going to be a little more natural looking, is just kind of less kind of stuck together in little parts. Okay. Got a new fancy little container here of for my epoxide. So this is a nice medium I like to use, and something like that which tries a little bit on the faster side. I prefer not to open the container too much if I don't have to. The big container I have, which is, you know, whatever, 5 inches high, because the air getting in there over and over again eventually can kind of lead to it drying out a little bit earlier than it needs to, or just at least getting thicker. So might need some more over here. It's my backup in case I need it, which I probably will. So I'm going to use some of the epoxide today just to add, well, okay, well, there's the epoxide, and then there's my metal-bodied oil. Metal-bodied oil is a lot thicker, so I'm just thinking, do I want that for what I'm doing right now? And I guess I can go with either one. So yeah, I think I'm gonna just yeah, I'll go with the kettle-bodied oil, specifically because burnt umber is just such a sinking color. And for my little container for the kettle-bodied oil, I have this little guy right over here, which is pretty tricky to open. Ugh. Yeah. Yeah, actually, I don't think I can get that open. It's like, it's really stuck. Ugh. Okay, well, I'll just use a different one then. Here's another little container I have, but this is just actually what it came in. Some more kettle-bodied oil here. Different from the other one, but not that different. See how thick it is. Okay, I think that will be good. Okay, so just want to mix enough of this in here so that when this dries, it's going to be, not matte. Don't necessarily need it extremely glossy, but I just don't want it to be matte. The hair that's on there now, I don't think you can really tell, but actually mostly dried with a good finish. So it can be a little bit tricky to predict exactly how much you need for that before you go kind of too far with it. If you add too much, then that can lead to some other stuff you don't want to deal with. But if it looks glossy when it's wet, like I was saying, I think last time, usually that's a good sign it'll dry well. It'll look glossy when it's dry. I don't want to just get it to level out too much. This is leveling out a little bit here, so I'm actually going to just add in some more that doesn't have any the oil added. Okay, I think that's a pretty good amount. So I'm also going to want to have some highlights. There's not really a lot of them. Well, at least the ones that are there are not very bright. So I don't know if I'm going to want to use just white. The light is pretty cold for the most part, so I think the white will probably just be okay on its own, but I want to go with a little bit of, like, I don't know, burnt sienna, or possibly some kind of like a reddish or orangish color. It looks like the sun is kind of hitting some of her hair, but sort of on the top edge. Some of the parts not, so I'll just try it out and see how that goes. There's one other photo of her. I'm going to just open, you're not going to be able to see this, but you can kind of look at that also just as sort of a loose reference for what I want to do here. I prefer not to have too many different reference pictures open if I can just have one that's the simplest, but sometimes it's not a real big deal if it's just something where I'm kind of like looking at it and just a kind of real major thing I have to sort of incorporate or whatever. It's just kind of something I can look at and kind of get an idea of what I need a little bit more. Okay. So I'm gonna get my brush here. Still really not sure what I'm gonna do with this. I mean, I might want to just in her hair and go along the edges of the hair with some of the sort of like lighter blue color. It can be a little bit complicated, but probably I'm not going to be able to get by just painting it on there and thinning it out on the edges. Try it. It's one of those things that would definitely be easier if the paint on the base was still wet, but not really any way that would have been happening unless I just saved it last for specifically what I'm doing now. Okay, well, just looking for this one brush. I'm not seeing it. I might have retired that brush because it was not looking so good anymore. So I have a newer one that I bought. Oh, actually, I have this one other one. know if this is going to work, but I'm going to just try this out actually before getting a different brush. So this is a 0 filbert. I was looking for the number 4, which I have, but probably I'm going to go with that. But let me just try this one first. Very small. So just thinking about like how to do these wispy little bits of the hair, and like if I do a whole bunch of them and eventually they come together, how that's going to look. Versus, you know, a slightly bigger brush that's a little bit more general looking. So just to start out, I'm not even going to add any of the white. I'll just get some of this, and this paint is a little bit thick, so I think actually maybe I do want to add some of the epoxide after all. So I got 2 different mediums I'm putting in here. Epoxide is just a liquid medium. You can get it in gel also, but this one's liquid. Okay, so now I'm going to separate what I have here and make my sort of thinner version of this. So I might want to add some of the paint without any of the oil added, just because it's getting a little bit, it's leveling out a little bit more than I want right now. So that's really showing up on the camera, but it's kind of flattening out. I'm just going to a more liquidy version than what I have next to this little bunch right here. Okay, I guess I could try that. Okay. Yeah, I don't feel like this is really going to work, actually. I mean, not really seem like the best way to do it. Okay, I'm going to get a different brush. That one's a little bit too small, which is what I figured anyway. You know, I think that I'm actually going to use a different one than what I was going to use before. This one's slightly firmer. I don't know if it might be a little too firm, but we'll find out. Anyone seen that movie, The Firm, with Tom Cruise? It wasn't about brushes. So this is going to go just, I think I'm going to still have to do something with this. It's a little bit too kind of chunky. I'm not sure exactly how much I want to have this hair flying around, but definitely a little bit too much in the reference. Yeah, I think I'm going to just try this with the burnt umber, and I'm going to skip the one thing I put in there to begin with. and just go straight to the other one and see what I get for that. You get a different, like they both are thinning out the paint, but it just feels different. The one is sort of more liquidy, the other one becomes more liquidy, but it's like just sort of hard to explain if you haven't actually used it. It's more stringy with the other one. This may be more what I need. There's the issue of yellowing if you use too much medium, which I think I'm probably okay at this point, but for the darker color, you're probably not really going to see the yellowing anyway, so it's not as much of a concern as some other ones. Let me see how this goes. Sometimes it's just like this, where you try something out and you say, that sucks, and then you have to try a different thing, and you go, that sucks too. And then eventually, by process of elimination, hopefully you find something that actually works well. So I'm gonna just try this here. Okay, I think this is definitely better. And grabbing on there a lot easier. So I'm going to attempt not to make my very nice bride look like Medusa, because you do have a lot of these little bits just flying around the reference that could potentially create that kind of a look. Here's the first cat fur of the day on my brush. So, she probably wouldn't like it if it looked like Medusa. I mean, I don't know, I guess with Medusa, it doesn't really matter what the face looks like. If you got snakes coming out of your head, you look like Medusa. It's one of those rare things that face is not really as important as just snakes around the face. And most people, you recognize them by the face. We definitely want to have that windy look. Tone down a little bit, from maybe 60 miles an hour to 40? I don't know. Maybe 30. I think this brush is actually working pretty well. I used to use these brushes all the time. There's my camera. This was like my favorite kind of brush back when I was in art school, like this exact size and shape and everything. I don't use them as much now, but still for some things. I mean, it might kind of look like if you just photoshopped a Harley in underneath her. Well, in a bit, it would fit right in. Once I'm done with this hair, that should be just sitting on a Harley. Of course, you probably wouldn't be riding a Harley on a Glacier. But there's going to be that same kind of effect with all the wind blowing around. I might want to go back over this hair anyway, just to kind of like I'm very possibly going to overdo it, even though I'm trying not to. And then once it's all in there, I might have a better idea of where I want to just get rid of something. And oh boy, I don't know if you can hear that. There's a cat playing with the toy out in the hall. There's this place over here where you can see her back, and then the hair is coming out from behind it. Which is nice because it sort of shows the hair kind of so flying around back there, but you can see just the edge of the back. We got out some of the special Christmas themed cat toys the other day for them, because cats know about Christmas. I like them. just had an arm spasm. Almost made me take the mark in the wrong spot. Okay, so in the reference, her hair is actually coming out to like right around here. And it looks like there might have been a helicopter nearby or something, but I'm just gonna go for a little bit more towards the bottom here instead of just going up in the air. This is a little bit like painting a tree, I guess, in a way, where you kind of put in the leaves and then you go back in and add little bits of the sky showing through. So I'm probably going to be just doing that same kind of thing in here a little bit. One nice thing is I know exactly which blue I used in the background, which was my I don't really use this too much. Cerulean. If you're not sure which color it was, you want to make sure if you're adding little things like that, that it actually matches. It doesn't look like, you know, all the new stuff you did doesn't have the same color. Because then it would look stupid. I'm almost getting this kind of nice fade out thing happening here. I feel like could almost work, but I think it's not quite enough. Actually, it's not happening in all the areas that I'm working on right now anyway. But you could potentially do something like that if you were fine with that look. By thinning out the paint on the edges instead of going back in with more paint. Oh, here's some news. For the first time in, I don't know, maybe like 15, 16 years or something, I decided I wanted to change my way I'm signing my paintings. So I did some tests in paint last night, and I think I have found what I want to do, which is really just the way I sign my name when I'm writing with a pencil, but a little different just doing it in paint. So I think from what I was working on, I liked the way that was going, so that's probably what I will do when I sign this painting. Sort of just vary some of these directions that the curls are going in right here a little bit. Guess I could maybe get this a little closer actually. Let me just see if I bring this here. You don't really need to see the entire thing right now. All right, I think that's probably better. You don't miss any of the incredible action happening in the nosebleeds. Okay, there we go. So, you know what, I think while I'm at it, I might as well do this too. Not a super high resolution intentionally, so that it has this little spot down here out of the way, not taking up too much CPU here, but there you go. Look at that, editing on the fly. Looks like I have a weird mustache right now, the way that the bar is in front of my face. Okay, so now I'm gonna keep going with this. And what do I want to do right over here, I think? Just have the hair going back this way. Just change everything in the whole setup, why not? Yeah. Okay. Not really thrilled with how the hair looks right now because it looks a little bit too much like she's like swimming through the water or something. I feel like it needs to go maybe a little bit crazier. It's a real fine line here between just it's windy versus, you know, she looks kind of just nuts. I mean, we don't want that. I'm gonna have a few that are going upwards here. I got some nice things happening with this mountain back here. I don't really want to cover it up, but sometimes you gotta just make a compromise somewhere. That last little line I just put in, I don't really like that actually. It's like adding to the others that are looking a little too simple. There's a particular metal alien device that's probing my face. Yeah. Makes it a lot harder to paint while I've got things sticking into my face. I don't really know where to put the camera. That's not going to be happening. I mean, yeah, I mean, I could just stand over here. Maybe this is all right. I don't know. Okay, so I think I do need to sort of vary maybe where the hair is ending a little bit. I mean, her hair looks like it's all pretty much the same length, so it's not weird for it to end in the same exact spot, basically, but I'm just trying to make it look sort of like it's actually just an organic sort of shape and, you know, believable. And it's actually flying around like it is. I want to have another line going upwards down here. Maybe right over here. Okay, so right now it looks pretty similar to the reference, the way the hair is kind of chunky and just, you know, not sort of spreading out the way hair does. I mean, it's even thicker here. I'm going to go in now and just sort of add some paint to go backwards with that. Notice that my one camera is right in the way of the other one. My time-lapse camera. Okay, well. Not exactly an ideal setup here. All right, I think that's fine. Okay, so try putting this one over here. Okay, I'm gonna get some other color out. I actually have some already I can use on the other side under the foil. Sometimes the foil can be kind of inconvenient because, you know, you just kind of like cover it up and it's in the way. You never necessarily know where you're going to want to use it or when, but it's nice when you have it sometimes and it's just already there. You don't have to bother with it. I'm going to just get some of this extra brown out of the way. So all this is probably garbage. It's unfortunate. Unless maybe I'll just stick it to the side and I might want to use it for something, but for now, it's just, it doesn't have any purpose I'm going to be using it for. But I like the epoxide for, you know, what I was doing with that brown. Not too many people know about that medium, but it's a really good one. All right, so I'm going to move this over here since it's where the paint is that I actually was using just now, and I don't actually need the metal-bodied oil at all, so I'll just leave that, but there's not really much of the epoxide, so I'm going to just scrape this other paint off and then put some of the blue right there that I'm going to use because I'm going to want to mix it together with the brown. Now I could use a different brush for the blue part, or I could use the same one. I don't know which I want to do yet. Probably going to use the same brush though. Some of the stuff in the background here is a little lighter. This is pretty much all the same right here. Some of it's a little bit more blue. Probably more paint than I really need for it, but here it is. So that's for my little foil stash. I'm gonna get some more white for it. It's my titanium lead, or lead titanium, same thing. Why do I look like a gopher on the screen when I just pop up like that? Okay, so this is going to be a little pinhole showing through here or there, but it also is going to be maybe covering up something that looks like it's just not really giving me the look I want. So this is a kind of random kind of thing I'm doing right now, where sometimes it's hard to know exactly what's the best way to do things, like taking one part away and adding a new thing in somewhere else, you know. Sometimes they don't really seem all that different while you're doing it, but then one will be drastically better than the other one after you do it. So after you put it in there, you can see if it's good or not. Let me just wipe off the ground here a little. This is definitely a little too solid looking right now. So I'm gonna try the paint as it is without anything. I always look like a gopher. Well, I don't know if that's a compliment or not, Brian. So, I mean, you can make a game just like Whack an Artist, where like instead of Whack-a-Mole, no one would want to play that game. So I'm gonna just put this in here. It's whiter down in the bottom, it's lighter down that way, and then a little bit darker up above. Okay, I'll go with a little bit darker up here. I think I'm going to need this sort of darker bluish gray kind of color that's in the mountain right there also for a couple places. Should probably get that now. I think I might have some I could use from the clouds. Not meaning I'm just going to download it. I mean from the clouds I was painting before. Okay, so more foily color here. I think I maybe need a little more black in there. My natural black oxide. I think I would say that's my favorite black. I don't really use that many though. Don't bother with lamp black if you have any, or if you're thinking about getting any. Skip it, because it's an antioxidant, which is the opposite of how paint actually dries. Actually, I have some lamp black that I used years ago, and I used to notice, like, when it was touch dry, it came off really easily, like way easier than a regular color, like any other color basically. And that's probably why. So definitely not a good black to use compared to the other ones out there. Okay, so this is maybe a little bit too dark, I don't know, but just kind of diversify these little spaces showing up a little bit more. A little bit, not enough paint. Guess that's working. I'm probably going to be going back over these things I'm doing now after I have it in there a little bit. But this is the next stage here. I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just kind of throwing things on there. I mean, I got to do something here. I could stare at this and try to plan the whole thing out for like 5 hours, and it probably wouldn't go the way I thought it would. Or I can just do it. Sometimes that's the best way to just get something done. It can also be a good way to just make a mess. Something's happening though, whatever it is. I'm getting to the hair that I did not paint today, actually, yeah. So it's not really mixing in there, which is fine. I think I'm getting like to the right to the edge of the back of her head now, so maybe I don't really want that in there actually. The lighter part, probably gonna get rid of that. I'll make sure her head does not look like it's, you know, missing an area in the back. That wouldn't be good. I think I'm just gonna do this now before I forget about it. This brown is pretty different from the blue I'm doing, so pretty big jump going back and forth. Yeah, right now that's not looking good. I'm gonna get some more of this brown mixed with the epoxide. I'm running out. And it's really windy out. We have like 50-mile-per-hour winds today. Probably just take this picture outside. We got snow out there. Here it'd be whipping around, it'd be pretty similar. Yeah, we had our first snowfall, I don't know, 2 weeks ago? Maybe 2-3 weeks or something. It was not very much. So it snowed, I don't know, the other day it snowed for just like a little bit, but didn't stick. And then today it snowed again, like a little bit, but not really a huge amount. Last winter, I'm in northern New Jersey, we got hardly any snow. I think it only snowed like 3 times, I think, and it was not even very much. So some people hate the snow, I actually like it, so. Kind of a little bit of a letdown for me. Of course, I don't have to commute anywhere, I just work at home. I'm also one of the few people that actually likes driving in the snow. So. Fog, all the dangerous conditions. I mean, I don't really like driving in rain, but fog, snow, that's for me. If I'm gonna drive somewhere, you can count me in for some fog and snow. Maybe both. Ooh. That'd be really dangerous. No. Careful, careful, Brian. Don't fall down your steps. Is that on the snow or is that in the house you're talking about? If you became immobilized for too long, the cats might just come along and eat you if you didn't get up and feed them after a while. I think this looks like it's coming off of the back of her head a little bit too quick here. Oh yeah. Well, you know, if you leave snow and ice on your floor in your house, I mean, probably gonna fall at some point. Probably best to put it in the freezer. Okay, I like that better. Still definitely not sure about any of this. I think I maybe need to thin it out more on the sort of outer edges, just like a tree. Maybe I'll do that next. Let me just go back over this actually a little more here. That's one of those things, like I was saying with the back of the head, it'd be very easy to miss that. And just have breaks in the hair go like over her ear or something, which would obviously be a problem. Yeah, I guess. I don't know, maybe I'll bring this up a little bit. I'm gonna just go over these edges here, blend them a little bit. I guess people did used to get snow in their freezers a long time ago, if they weren't working right. I never really had that happen though. I don't know if fridge technology has changed since like 30 years ago. I mean, you don't have those coils on the bottom anymore that you have to clean. Now it's just like on the back, I guess. So that's an improvement. I remember seeing that in movies and stuff though, people just chipping away at things in the freezer. I gotta be careful that this background light showing through doesn't kind of compete with the actual like texture on the hair. Because what I have right here is sort of approaching, you know, that kind of thing. So it's gonna need to be a little brighter than that. But I can go back over it more. I guess it's looking all right, but I'm still definitely not thrilled with it. I'm gonna go in with some more of that blue on the edges here. And this in sort of narrow little bits to start and see how that goes. Brian, did you say you saw Tetsuo the Iron Man? I think I was talking to you about it one time. I don't know if you ever watched it. This guy becomes like swallowed up by machines. I feel like that's kind of like what my my feed looks like right now. It's like I'm just eventually going to go into the machines and become one with them. So something that's happening is definitely when you mix in the light blue with the brown, it's turning very warm. You know, the brown is warmer than the blue, just as it is when it's dark, but you don't really see it as much. So it's becoming a lot more noticeable when you mix them. I guess it's kind of softening out a little bit, so that's what I want. I'm just kind of going around, seeing what happens here. Oh, I like that one little spot. So that kind of thing, that's like more of like what I need to do for the rest of it. Sometimes you just get like the right amount of paint in the right spot to do what you're trying to do. Pressing the right amount. You get it to actually like cover or blend or whatever. Oh yeah, Superman 3. Was it Superman 3 or 2? Yeah. The woman got caught up by the machine. Yeah, I saw that in the theater. That scared the crap out of me when she opens her eyes and they're silver. I was like right up there with like the gremlins jumping out of the cabinets. Like losing my mind back when that happened. But yeah, that was really freaky. So there's a documentary out about Christopher Reeves, I think. Just advertised recently. Or, I don't know, his kids were doing interviews anyway. Maybe it was just like a special or something they were talking about him. But yeah, I think it's a documentary. Now again, I want to make sure the lower part is lighter than the top part. So I can kind of like just do what I'm doing now and then go back and really highlight it with white or whatever in a few places once I've got this all kind of taken care of. And I guess I'm getting there. I'm just plodding along. Yeah. Yeah, I don't, you know what? Was that Superman 3? I'm not sure if I remember any of the movie aside from that one scene with the lady opening her eyes. I don't think I've seen it since then. That might have been freakier than Cameron's closet. I don't know. Could be. I've still not watched again, even though I've been planning to do it for like 20 years. So that's probably not a real easy movie to find at this point anyway. I would imagine the demand for Cameron's Closet is very high in 2024. Now, okay, so here's another thing I was just thinking right over here. Not sure exactly where her shoulder is. It's probably just kind of in this spot right over here, but I'll make sure I don't kind of like make anything showing through where there should be an arm or something like that going on. Probably not a big deal. Part right over here. Something not working right there. I have to just start changing things around. This is like, I remember seeing like a advertisement for Masterclass from Dead Mouse, and he was just showing how he just goes and randomly turns knobs and stuff and sees what kind of sound it gets out of the machines. That's a little bit like what I'm doing right now. I'm just changing things, see if it looks better or worse, change something else. Okay, I feel like it's coming together a little bit now. So the lower part should be brighter together with the top part. Thinking it's getting closer to the time when I need to add more of the brown back in. It was easier to actually like paint the thing that you're supposed to have there instead of the thing that's around it. Just a little bit kind of awkward trying to do that. I'll go over this top edge actually before I move to the brown again. Doesn't need to be so solid. Trying to make sure that the hair doesn't turn too white. I guess some of the highlights I put on there earlier, like the white's showing through a little bit more than the blue. I want the color it's kind of combining with to match the mountain behind it, so that it just looks like I'm getting kind of the mountain sort of, I don't know, fading out in the edge into the mountain. A little bit like I have one time lapse I did years ago of a beard I painted, where I had just done like 7 layers on it before I eventually got it the way it looked in the end. I kept on just adding, you know, more of different colors and everything, and more skin color, and then more brown and more blonde, and eventually, you know, I was happy with how it looked. But a little bit like this, just kind of going back and forth with everything. Okay, so yeah, I think I'm going to switch over to the brown again here. Okay, I think what I just did there, that really helped to show sort of that, the edge going across there of that snow stuff. Snow stuff, you could call it that. I mean, it's really ice since they're on a glacier, but cold and it's, you know, water when it's warmer. I guess snow is just a little ice. So yeah, I'm going to switch back to the brown. I wonder if there's any cultures where they call snow little ice. That's just, really, it's the same thing. Well, Eskimos have like 20 or 30 names for snow or something like that. So kind of liking it the way it is now, actually. Definitely is not finished, but be careful not to like kind of lose that look of the things showing through. I also want to connect things where there's supposed to be this part going up right over here. Need to make sure that little gaps go around that, not kind of cut it off here and there. I think now that I think about it, this is maybe the hardest hair I've ever painted, really. I mean, blonde hair is hard for different reasons, but this is kind of tricky. Making it look good anyway. That's the tricky part. You know, I think I'm actually going to switch over to that other brush, because now that I have a bunch of these things down, this actually might be a little bit easier for what I'm doing at this point. This is a softer bristle and it's smaller, so seems like maybe it will be useful for this. I'm just kind of sniffing around here for just the direction that the hair should be going in different places. That was mixing with the white right there in a way I didn't really want. But the biggest thing right now is just getting the shape of everything guess what I'm going for with this is more of a Beyonce wind machine kind of a look. I don't know how many miles per hour Beyonce has that thing set to, but a little bit less than what we've got here. Does she still use that? Maybe not. It was kind of her trademark for a long time. I guess it looks like hair, at least. Probably, most people would get that. I think we're safe with the Medusa issue. I'm gonna have to thin it out a little bit more again, but kind of getting there. Anybody that's watching, if you have art questions, you can send a comment. Anyone except for Brian. He doesn't need any prompting, he'll just say whatever he wants on his own. Actually up here, a little area where there's something weird going on. If you're on LinkedIn, by the way, I will not see your comments, but pretty much everywhere else. So, sorry LinkedIn, but I'm willing to bet there's nobody watching anyway. At least on there. There's a thing that just in general with fading edges out that looks nice, but especially with hair because you have all these little hairs that are making up the one big bunch of hair that you see that looks dark. So more than kind of anything else, it's especially good in hair to do that. To have it not be solid and just end, unless of course, like in the reference, you know, you have somebody with a lot of mousse in their hair or hairspray or something, but natural hair, that's what it does. Just kind of sort of thins out on the sides when it's spreading apart. I want to bring this down here. I think what I'm going to do is just use the other brush as my blue and the white stuff. I'm going to use the one I was just using as my brown to add in there. It's definitely more convenient to use two brushes sometimes, so I think I'm going to do that now for how I'm adjusting this from here on. Doing a lot of staring down this thing, but forget what I was just going to change, but sometimes you got to just look at it and see what stands out that looks like it needs to be fixed. So overall, it still needs to be thinned out some more, especially on the ends here. So I'm going to go in there and do that. Something I think I may have talked about before is just how if I'm listening to something while I do a painting, a TV show or a movie or now a podcast or audiobook or whatever, for like the, I don't know, couple months or sometimes more after I finish it, whenever I look at the painting, I'll remember what I was listening to when I look at that specific place. So I was listening to Stephen King's The Stranger until a little while ago. There's certain parts in this painting, when I look at it, I still remember that. Eventually it fades a lot of the time, but it's one of those things I don't really try to think of it, it's just kind of just like sitting there. There's the one painting I just finished a few months ago, which was a huge amount of time. I actually listened to several books on tape or audiobooks when I was painting that. One of which was It, which is very long. So there's different parts where I looked at, and one section made me think of like It, and another one made me think of like, I think I was on To Kill a Mockingbird at some point for that one, and then other parts I'll think of something else. This is a little weird right here. I gotta do something with that. It's like almost where I need it, but not quite. Now, as far as like painting actual little hairs in here, kind of hinted at this in one or two places. I'm gonna sort of paint them, not exactly individually, but much thinner than what I have right here. If it's really diluted to the point where it's not extremely dark, you can do that. And I think it looks like it kind of helps the whole shape of everything. And by diluted, I mean just not dark. If you start painting individual hairs with just pure burnt umber, it's probably going to look stupid, and you wouldn't really see them as much at this distance anyway, but kind of help with the sort of hair texture, kind of adding a little bit of that here and there at the edges, very just subtly. Oh, hey James. Okay. Thanks for stopping by. So I'm going to thin this out. This little sort of net thing happening in there. I want it to be a lot more kind of subtle looking. Right now it's just like hair, hole, hair. You know, like you can see through to the back. So I kind of get this a little bit more sort of in the middle, in between that. I'm going to just actually work on the lower part and then do the top part because there's such a big difference in the value there. It's kind of hard to just keep going up in the same area, but it's also easy to maybe forget what's going on in one spot if you do that, so I got to be careful with it. Continue the angle in the right direction and stuff like that. I think it would make sense for there to be a little bit more hair over here also, since the wind's blowing. Not going to necessarily grab as much over this way, maybe. So, might be adding a little bit more in right over here, I don't know. Kind of get that sort of lace effect in a situation like this, maybe. There's the lighter area behind, so I can make this sort of drastically darker from here up. It may help to give it the transparent look that it probably would have if I was seeing it exactly how I'm painting it on the reference. Lace can be fun to paint, but it can also be difficult depending on the specifics. But, you know, getting that transparent look of things can be really cool in a painting, just to really create the appearance that there's sort of that more dimension happening, where there's something in front of something else. It can be sort of a nice device for that. It's just like there's all little tricks and things you can use with painting, like different times where people used to put a birthmark on somebody in their face just to make it look more like a real person. Just having a brown little spot makes them look more like a real person, just for whatever reason. So if somebody actually has a birthmark on their face, then, you know, you can paint it on there, but, you know, they might otherwise leave it out, I guess, aside from that reason. This is looking a little bit too, needs, I don't know, needs more randomness or something right now. May have to break it up more on the edges, maybe that's it. I did that before, but I'm gonna just go in and do some more now. I think that's looking better already. Trying to get the brush to just barely touch the surface here. feel like it is kind of getting that look now of like that glowing, I mean it's ice, but just like the way snow looks when it, you know, gets all sunny the next day a lot of the time. There's people that live in areas where it doesn't snow, maybe they don't really know what that is, but just very common after a snow that it'll be really sunny the next day and everything's just like super bright, like the beach. You can't even really look at it sometimes because it just hurts your eyes. So it's kind of getting that bright sort of a look now here, so that's good. Okay, I like the hair a lot more now. Down here, I feel like that's maybe not too bad. There's a little area here. Go back over. Need some more of this slightly darker blue. I'm gonna add a tiny bit more of the brown over here, but I don't want to like overdo it. I think it needs something here, but I'm gonna be really careful. I think this is working pretty good right now. It's just not. Needs a little bit more thickness in some place. Okay, now there's a little place right over here. I'll just darken this slightly. Hey, Schmuckleberry. How you doing? I was told earlier that I always look like a gopher. And gophers and groundhogs may be closely related. Oh no. Well, I guess it's okay. This thing is like right behind my legs. Okay. Yes, I was noticing that when I come up from, if I'm sitting on the chair and then come up like this, I look like a groundhog, gopher, mole, I don't know, whatever. Some sort of woodland creature. Yeah, so hair was a little bit tricky for a while there. It's still tricky, but I'm just kind of looking for just a few places here and there to sort of darken or lighten as I need to right now. Just to get it to look like hair. That's the basic goal, so that it looks like hair. I'm trying to do it so it's a little bit less crazy looking than the photo, so that it's not quite blowing around as much. So I'm changing pretty much the whole thing. It looks sort of like the photo, but not really. Yeah, woodland creatures are good for getting views. I mean, I could probably just cut in a little, I don't know, like a chipmunk eating some peanuts or something for a few minutes and then go back to painting. Probably get a lot more people watching. The problem is they'd all just want to watch the chipmunk, and then when I come back, they'd be like, no more chipmunk. Is that a juggalo? I just feel it looks like chipmunks are wearing eyeliner. I think they're the most glamorous of the woodland creatures. Okay. I think I'm going to do a little bit more on the top part of the hair now, meaning above the lighter background at least. Yeah, my college roommate and a couple of guys I went to school with were really into wrestling and Insane Clown Posse. So I had some experience with juggalos back then. So I'm going to have this edge right along here, ending pretty hard. Just to increase the transparent look of the background showing through. Too bad, I kind of like the way this looks right here, but I kind of just have to do that, I think. At least a little bit. I feel like what I'm doing right now to have the background look like it's showing through in the foreground, whatever, the hair. Not really working as well as I thought it would, but I don't know. There are some of these lighter areas in the mountain back there that are pretty close to the bottom edge, the bottom of the snow ice stuff, so and the whole thing doesn't have to be dark going across right at this edge right here, but let's see if I can use it just as well as I can to help with that. Has anybody watching been getting their holiday shopping taken care of? Always good to do that early. I mean, I guess maybe it's not early anymore, but good to not wait till the last minute for it. Okay, so I'm gonna just put some more brown up here now on the top. This is a little bit maybe too defined right here. And this top edge, I kind of like how this looks, but it definitely needs to be darker right there. As the hair goes out away from the head, it'll tend to somewhat sort of spread out further away. It kind of like it's thicker, getting closer to the head, so just sort of give it that kind of look here. I also need to continue this down over here. It's not dark enough for that hair to be going through and going downwards. I also need this little part that's coming up here, or going out anyway. It has to be coming from somewhere, so I guess it's going across from over here, so I need to make sure it's dark enough that it can be doing that right there. Instead of just appearing out to the left. Oh, I like the way that looks. Okay, I think I'm kind of pretty much there now with like the majority of this. I have to still add in like the highlights on the hair. This is all just the light coming through from behind right now. But aside from like, I mean, they're not really highlights, they're not very high. But aside from that kind of stuff, I think that the light coming through from the back is actually working pretty good now. Anybody seen Destroyer? Just watched that the other day. Nicole Kidman looking like she's on meth. I mean, it was pretty extreme for her, but it was a heavy movie, but it's good. Wipe this off here where it's going on to the strap. Yeah, pretty big painting. I can maybe paint an AT-AT in the background there. They might not notice it for a while. I'm guessing you've seen, I don't know, did we talk about this already? Just like people that go and get like a painting at a garage sale and then paint AT-ATs in there and X-Wing, like TIE-Wings fighters and stuff like that. That's become a big thing. Or, well, I've seen several people doing that kind of stuff anyway. I don't know if it's necessarily big. This one my brother just sent me recently of a guy that bought a painting and painted the mystery mobile or the mystery machine or whatever from Scooby-Doo out in the front. And like, there's like clues of what had happened, that all of the Scooby-Doo people got killed or something. He pretty much went over the whole thing though. Just like painted over the house and made it all run down and stuff. Same kind of idea though. I think that was my brother that sent that to me. But yeah, that's kind of a movement. Yeah, it was on Instagram. That's where I saw it. Some of them are pretty cool. I mean, it was no banana taped to the wall, but you know, it's hard to get to that level. Yeah. Ryan, your parents paid someone to paint the house in Malta. Yeah, that'd be a pretty good, like, I don't know, is that a prank? Just to like make a painting and tell people that there's a thing hidden in it, and then not actually paint that thing in there so that they're always wondering where it is. I mean, I'd imagine that's the kind of thing you'd probably want to run by the person you're doing the painting for before you actually do it. So one thing I'm just looking at now is there's this little area up here. I don't know if things are a little bit too just kind of like evenly spaced out, or maybe it's okay the way it is. Maybe need to thin it out a little bit somewhere. I don't know. Or something. I feel like there's a little spot right here which doesn't really make sense, so I'm gonna go in and do something with that. Yeah, painting of the house, that's what I meant. Yeah. You paid a guy to come and do it, well, to come and paint the house, and you put an alligator someplace. That would really be something that a lot of people would have a problem with. That was like years ago. I had a post on Craigslist that I was a painter, and like clearly, in true Craigslist fashion, I described exactly what I did and everything, and had examples of my stuff on there. Still got people writing to me looking for a house painter, like to paint their house, the sides of their house. That happened a bunch of times. I think I'm gonna just sort of spread this out to the right. There's one little piece coming across right here. It's like amazing how much people don't bother reading a post. Like there's this guy, we've been selling our car, which I think I mentioned before. Sold one car that broke down. Got a new car, and so now I have this post explaining exactly what happened with the car. It needs a lot of stuff. Well, not a lot. It needs some things done with it. And you know, everything's there. There's pictures, everything you need. This guy wrote to me on Facebook Marketplace, insisting that we talk on the phone. I kept on asking him questions he didn't want to answer. Eventually, I talked to him on the phone, and he didn't realize that the car needs a new engine because he didn't bother reading the post. So really a real basic thing, just to like, there wasn't that much writing, not much to read in the post, so it's just people nowadays. Yeah, I mean, you know, there's people looking for just someone to come paint their house, like with a roller and stuff on Craigslist. So those people found me back when I was posting on there, like, or whatever, putting up an ad or whatever on what I did. Okay, so I'm thinking this is working pretty good now. I'm like really being cautious not to mess it up, because that can happen very easily with something like this that's so, I don't know, amorphous, is that the right word? But I'm thinking I pretty much have got this stuff going on over here the way I want it. Yeah, portrait of the house, like that's what I was advertising. But people were just not really reading the post and just going, oh, house, paint. Hey, can you come paint my house? And, you know, it was just a waste of everyone's time. Hey, you know what? Have you seen there's a Where's Waldo commercial now? Kind of funny. They also incorporate that he like sees people from other countries, and other people call him Wally, which is what he was called in like Europe and stuff. But the guy they got, he really looks like Waldo. No, like there's something a little right over here that's bothering me a little bit about the light showing through. Like it's not showing through enough. Maybe I'm gonna just darken this one spot here. I want that kind of transparent look right there. Okay, I think that helps. Well, how much does it pay to paint house? Depends what kind of size you want. What's the image, like what's in the image, you know? If it's just a house, is there trees? Is there like other stuff going on, like a car? So, yeah, there's a lot of factors. I haven't done anything like that. Actually, I've never painted a house. I've done commissions where I drew houses. The paintings tend to be more expensive because they take longer. So back when I was drawing houses, I was doing it for really cheap. And even then I was having a hard time finding people to do it. But not so much pushing that anymore. I would still paint somebody's house if they found me and wanted me to, but you know, not really kind of going after that at this point. Okay, so now, okay, so here's something else that's happening. Like there's the transparency thing here. I'm just looking at the way the hair looks below the lighter area. So I want to make sure it doesn't look too transparent, so it looks like I don't know. I guess it should be a little bit darker in some places, just so that it looks like the hair is thicker in some spots. A fine line of just getting that just right. Okay, I'm gonna just, I don't know. Bring it down in the middle here, I guess that would make the most sense. I mean, if places where the hair is a little bit thicker and the light's not showing through quite as much. I really don't want to mess with this too much though, because I'm liking how it looks now. Like you're always right on the edge of messing something up when you're painting. Unless everything is just bad and there's nothing to mess up because you don't like any of it. That's a different kind of problem. I think I like that a little bit better. Guess it's all right. A little bit too sharp right here. Okay. Wheel of Fortune. Are you just randomly hitting emotes? What that is? Just a color wheel? Sometimes with something like this also, it's good to just kind of like leave it, you know, look at it the next day or something. I mean, it'll also potentially be dry by that point, but you know, sometimes things are working all right and you can overdo it and you can sort of start making it less good as you go along, so you don't want that either. But thinking I'm pretty happy with this at this point. I might change a little bit of something somewhere, but feeling like this is working pretty well. So I got the darker transparency showing through up here, and you know, I'm just about done here. So I'm gonna take the camera off, bring it closer. You can see what I'm doing over here a little bit more. Okay, so here it is, closer up. You can really see, you know, there's that transparency going on right there. And up here, it's the mountain showing through more higher up. So, you know, still got to do some definition of, you know, all this stuff that's going on up this way. And it's pretty dark still, but I need a little bit of something so it's not just flat. So that's basically it. So, anyway, I think that's going to do it for today. So thanks for stopping by. Sorry about the delay in the beginning, but technology. So hold on one second here. Now, you know what? For all you Twitch folk, I've never actually done a stream. I've actually got 3 people right now. Do you guys want to maybe raid? Maybe we'll take a little trip and visit somebody else. What do you think? Let me see who's on right now. Everybody else, that's about it. Thanks for coming. I'll be doing this probably the same time next week, my usual time, 6:30 Eastern time on Thursday. So let me just see who's on right now and on Twitch, and I'm gonna just take a little trip over there with my 3 viewers. Wow, it's really high today, and we're gonna raid another stream. So hold on a second here. Let me see. I've actually never raided before. I think there's, okay, check who's on that I'm actually like friendly with. Okay, I am going to take a little visit over to the @easel, everybody. Okay, so here we go.